What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video where we're going to go over everything from today's live stream from the Division game, where they mainly focused on TU22 PTS Phase 2 with a few other little tidbits, and obviously the chat got to ask some questions at the end, so we'll go over it as quick as we possibly can. The whole stream was, I think it spanned over an hour, so I'm going to try and rattle through this in about 5 minutes or so. I guess we'll see how long it takes. So don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. And let's get straight into it. So first of all, they started off the stream by saying that the XP boost event that's just ended, they pretty much saw that as a success. Unfortunately, some people were affected. They pinned it down to what the problems were. They'd not fixed it yet, but they were going to fix it, and hopefully they were going to do many more of these type of events in the future going forward. Phase 2 of the PTS starts on Friday, runs Friday, Saturday, Sunday and early hours of Monday morning. Preload will be live today. I think it's actually live as of right now when this video goes live. They then very quickly talked about the dev notes. They said the St. Elmo was going back to what it was. Obviously, the M4 changes will affect that, but they're going to give it the 10 rounds back. They talked about these Ouroboros as well. That is getting the rounds back as well, and they were changing the rate of fire, although they did say they were going to change it to 1250, and in the patch notes, which I'll do a video about that following this video, say it's 1275. So I guess we'll probably have to wait and see tomorrow to see what that is actually going to be. I hope it is 1275 though. They talked about the changes to Sledgehammer being group orientated, but with a few damage changes, and the Mosquito keeping its talent as well. Yannick talked about balance in general and said that they do try to buff things rather than nerf things. They kind of appreciate sometimes it doesn't look like that, but they always go into it with a mindset of buffing rather than nerfing. They did talk about strikers again and said to remember it's not a total nerf because it's only the backpack, and that's being changed from the 0.85 that it was up to 0.9. Hopefully we'll be able to test that this time because it was still set at 1 on the PTS last time. They talked about the TU22 new gear, the Strega, for quite a little bit, saying that it had infinite range and it was infinitely stackable. They fixed that for Phase 2. The meters that it will spread is going to be 10 meters. Originally it was meant to be 20, but they've set it at 10 now, but it's kept all of its damage buff. Obviously you just can't infinitely stack it. The torso, they've changed the range on that as well. And added it to 30 meters, but they've also given the damage buff now 15 seconds rather than 10. I still don't think that's going to be long enough, but I guess we'll see. They have reverted some of the Scorpio changes, not all the way. They said they've gone to a middle ground, so I guess we'll see. We'll talk about that more in my next video when we go over the patch notes. They then talked about the new seasonal journey, where the priority objectives can now be abandoned. You can only abandon one every hour though, so there's a 60-minute cooldown after you abandon one, but they deem that that is enough to stop you, getting stuck with some objectives for if there's a reason you can't do them. They've removed some objectives like the blockade ones so that people can't get stuck for a week also. They have changed the availability of getting the modifiers, so when you do the priority objective and you get the chance to get a modifier, they've upped the drop rate just for the PTS so that people will be able to test it a little bit quicker. They've changed the UI, and I don't know if I can very, very quickly show you that on here. That will probably just have this bit right now. There it is. Yes, they've changed the UI, which we'll just keep it here for a second. They put the SHD up at the top now for all the directives. You can see that here. They've made the specialization smaller, and your watch is now up here as well with the grenade down at the bottom, bringing back the all gear tab because they said a lot of people missed that and they didn't want to remove that as a feature. They also I've lost where I'm up to now. I've gone over that. Sterile coating has been changed, and that's what Yannick is trying to demo now. They've now put like a highlighted area around the enemy so that you can then see what color it is that you need to use. Pretty nice now, but they've also reduced the amount of times you'll actually get to see that enemy. It took Yannick about 10 minutes to find one enemy where he could do it, so they have really reduced it really low, which to me I think is great, right? Because it's the most annoying of the modifiers. They've said, then they started talking about the new flashback event. I can't remember what it's going to be called, what they're going to call it, flashback or callback or event that's going to happen starting next week. They said that you're basically going to have the ability to buy exotics from just that season by earning a new type of currency during the few days that it is on. Obviously, the GE will be on as well, so you'll be able to earn GE points as well and buy from the regular GE vendor also. There'll be a project that appears during that time, and when you complete the project for that current flashback event or for that current season, you'll get the exotic for completing that project. So say it was, I don't know, the exotic backpack, the memento perhaps. You'll do the project by basically completing that season's climax mission, and you'll be guaranteed to get that exotic. So it sounds good, but you only get a short time for each season, and that's obviously going to be a bit of a rush for playing other games and whatever else. So there'll be a lot of division time coming up starting next week. They then talked about Wallops Island for a little bit, and said basically, you know, there's no info there. Basically, don't get too excited. It might never happen. They put things in the game for testing. There's a lot of content always been put into the game for testing. Maybe it turns out to be a thing. Maybe they like it. Maybe they don't like it. Yannick kind of just wanted to touch on that. They also talked about the extension of this season by adding this kind of flashback event. That's not the word that they use. I don't know why I keep calling it a flashback event, but whatever. Throwback event. By adding that throwback event, obviously it does extend the season. They said don't take any note of any kind of placeholder date that is in the game. It's always subject to change. And Daria did put a tweet up, I did retweet it, saying that basically the extension of this season is because they had to change, you know, the seasonal character. They had to put in the work to remove it because of the backlash and everybody didn't want it. So that's why they got the extended season, and that is kind of that. They did talk about the global modifiers for the new system, and they said it always goes off the group leader, just like global events. If the group leader turns the modifier on, everybody in the group will get it. He did say as well, going back to the Wallops Island thing, take everything with a grain of salt. That was definitely Yannick's saying of the stream, take everything with a grain of salt. You can turn the seasonal modifiers off to progress the season. You don't have to have them on, but they've designed the new Master Climax mission difficulty with having the seasonal modifiers in mind. They said that it'll be much harder without them, so there might be a bit of a challenge there for anyone that wants to take on a bit of a challenge. They said that the modifiers and global events are both obviously a thing going forward. They have to be used independently. They can't be used together. The PTS doesn't have all of the modifiers. We can't unlock them all. So currently there is an imbalance with the NPCs because they have all of their modifiers and we can't get it to be as powerful as what we will be able to when the game actually and the update actually goes live. They did say that modifiers work in the range, in the raids, but I would definitely question this because in PTS 1, the modifiers didn't work in the raid, they didn't work in the incursion, and they didn't work in descent. So that will definitely be something to test. They said they know about people's stash issues. They're exploring options because obviously there was some room freed up for that extra character slot for the seasonal character. They said, but they've not made any options yet, but they know that stash is an issue. They then answered some questions from, I'll just give you the answers, basically the main points to what they said. The Hunter Mask hook that is in the game that is currently empty, it means nothing. Don't try and look for anything. There is nothing in there at the moment. There's no plans for any new conflict maps. They're looking at an open all cache button, but when they looked at it, there was potential issues with people losing gear and things like that. But it's definitely on the cards and being discussed. They have no raids or other incursions planned currently. The only major content coming to the game is the DLC, and that's all they've got planned for the moment. They're still looking at call for backup, but it isn't down as an emergency for them to get it fixed as soon as possible. They're not having a Halloween event this year, but there is new cosmetics coming, and there'll be new things integrated into the game for us to earn them. They didn't make out like it was going to be premium, although I expect there will be premium stuff added around the Halloween, horror kind of theme. This very much sounded like you'll be able to do kind of like projects that we've just done with the other event to be able to get them. XP boost events will definitely be back. They really, really like the idea of that, and they really like the feedback and response that they got to it. Leagues are definitely going. They're not going to be a thing anymore. They just don't work with the new seasonal model, but they are going to revisit the idea at a later point to see if there's something that they can build in as a replacement. They did then mention that they basically always go off what is best, what they kind of feel is best for the game. So whether that's an investment in people's time, whether it's down to budget or whatever else, they always kind of feel like they try and do what's best for the game to keep it alive, and obviously within monetary costs, and that includes looking at raids, incursions and things like that. They do want to add things. Yannick did mention that if they had 5,000 employees, they would add everything they possibly could. You know, they say all ideas are always good ideas, but unfortunately they are always limited to the amount of stuff they can get in with the team. He did, however, mention, though, someone said, how big is the team now? He didn't actually say how big the team was, but he said they've got enough people to keep the game alive. Take from that whatever you need. People mentioned about old cosmetics and old apparel events. They did say there's no plans for that at the moment, but they said it's a good idea and they were going to talk to the people that are in charge of that. So that looks like hopefully that might be a thing coming forward at a future point. No new spec weapons are planned, and Descent is not getting checkpoints. It likely will never get checkpoints. They said that the way the system for Descent is built, it would be a lot of work to get them checkpoints in. So he said, yeah, basically that would, you know, for the time being, as he talked about before and he alluded to before, there's time best spent on different things. And that was it. They said the music composer was going to be the same as they always are. I didn't catch the person's name, but if you want to know that, there it is. That's going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed the quick wrap up, and I'll see you in the next one for the patch notes. Thanks for watching, agents. Goodbye.